The Rose Mandala Philosophy, PowerPoint Video 1, Part 3, Modern Knowledge Meets an Ancient Path to Wisdom. Remember the question about how can humanity find an agreement on core values that could cause the meta-ethical leap so our civilizations really move forward? Can't we do a lot better? More sustainable grace, less cataclysmic issues? Regarding the issues that face us, perhaps you're now at least partially convinced that the Rose Mandala is a tool that can help bring humanity's various scientific or secular and religious factions together in a way that's loving and reasonable, i.e., that'll work. But since the dominant paradigm in our civilization is modern science, which is of Western origin, and the claim is that the Rose Mandala philosophy can accommodate science, what then of Western philosophy? Let's discuss that for a couple of minutes. Actually, a huge part of humanity's problem, such as it is, with resolving the issues that face us, is simply that relative to our technological progress, the West at least has done an inadequate job developing philosophy. This does not mean that many Western philosophers haven't often been well-meaning, but due to a few unfortunate misturns in the history of Western philosophy, most contemporary philosophers have dropped the ball, so to speak. Key influential figures were so mystically smitten by the exact and precise practical elegance of mathematics in describing nature that they've been pathologically reliant on deductive reasoning, and therefore they didn't adequately acknowledge the equally important role of inductive reason. That is to say, they were wary of uncertain, relativistic, statistical, or quantitatively generalizing inductive reason in the creation of scientific hypotheses and a reasonable metaphysics. But it was exactly the worldly willingness to use inductive hypotheses rigorously that gave birth to modern science. The reluctance to properly embrace induction may be why many contemporary philosophers are cynical about philosophy's prospects, or have been proponents of metaphysics, logic, and epistemologies that are too unnatural and contradictory. And they've been unable thus far to consistently contribute workable worldviews for civilization that reasonably harmonize with the astonishingly successful scientific paradigm and humanity's need to find traditions that provide religious meaning. Surely philosophy must be judged the same way any other human endeavor is, by how well it fulfills its purpose. It should be abundantly clear that the purpose and healthy reason humans are interested in philosophy is to develop a grand, holistic, or deeper picture of the world and its meaning that is correct enough such that we can live successfully. And incidentally, philosophy needs to respond in a coherent, successful way to the issues that might beset us. So let's review. Is it not profoundly useful to consciously tie the grand, successful scientific theories of what we think is real with what our ephemeral self, searching for the reason to live, senses it ought to connect to? Perhaps the common sense idea that as we learn to love reality and connect to it, in the deepest sense, we will desire to act earnestly and more consciously and reasonably in this life, is the central philosophical wisdom that we need to be talking about. And it's an ancient idea. Interestingly, the Native Americans of the Great Plains were and are a culture that's profoundly aware of it. The Plains Indians haven't presumed to prescribe the path or map for finding wisdom, but long ago they did come up with a very useful compass. The Plains Indians called this spiraling process of increasing one's wisdom the medicine wheel. Using the medicine wheel is a process of integrating within ourselves what we know is with what we believe ought to be. In other words, the medicine wheel is a kind of compass that articulates the process of attaining wisdom. It's both very simple and very profound, and it can apply to any issue or to one's life as a whole. You move clockwise on the medicine wheel, and although you can enter the wheel anywhere, it's traditional to start in the east with the rising morning sun. Traditionally, the Indians had a word, an animal, and a color to represent each direction. In the East, the animal is the eagle and the word is illumination. Whatever the issue is, one must first become aware or more aware of it. Illumination is about seeing the world as it is, or following and understanding what is going on objectively in the larger reality. The South is represented by the humble mouse or the wily coyote, where innocence is the word for the ego state as it chooses to truly take on the weight of that which has been illuminated. In the West, the animal is the hibernating bear, symbolizing introspection or how exactly one is going to take on or integrate that which has been illuminated. In the North, the animal is the white buffalo, and the word is wisdom, which is about successfully integrating or connecting oneself regarding the issue into the larger reality. Although we continually move around the wheel, the Indians also said that you can spend a large part or the whole of your life focused on a particular part of the medicine wheel. And it turns out that modern psychologists have often found the medicine wheel to be a profoundly useful secular tool, and it has been a central part of many emotional growth schools and programs for troubled people. As a compass, the medicine wheel can apply to anything and everything about which you may wish or need to gain wisdom. If we begin to merge the circular processes of science and religion together as a worldview in the model of the medicine wheel, it's no coincidence that we can show how the four meanings of life, that at least one of which most people intuitively believe in, come together. They are number one, love God. Number two, accept the rules of this reality, i.e., survive. Number three, pursue happiness. Or number four, follow your own spiritual path. Now, if we put all these concepts together in one diagram, and we show how humanity may find the love of life necessary to fully integrate and use the knowledge that our noble human culture has acquired about this reality, we have the full Rose Mandala. And now the question that we posed in part one of this video about how can humanity find sufficient common agreement on our core values to make the quantum leap that seems necessary to move our civilization forward. Via the Rose Mandala, here has an answer. The mandala even influences the question itself. Do you think the core issue that humanity needs to master is how can we connect to meaning with sufficient passion, such that we humans will cooperatively care about and act reasonably upon our best knowledge of the true nature of reality so we can be gracefully sustainable as a species? Well, growth or movement on the personal subjective side of the mandala towards ultimate connection is far less intellectual than the right side. It involves actions of religious connection through ritual, art, work, prayer, meditation, romantic love, love of family, of friends, of one's culture, and of nature. The PowerPoints that follow this one will focus more on the right side of the mandala, because the knowable universe it examines is the one that most of us can objectively agree that we share, and hopefully reverently accept the importance of. And hence, for social civilization purposes, the prescriptive, logical superset to subset clockwise flow of the mandala's right side illuminates perhaps the most loving, reverential, yet science-based, pragmatic, workable, meta-ethical system yet developed. The mandala's hierarchical nesting progression of the sciences is hardly new, and even though it seems like common sense as the basis for a meta-ethical paradigm for humanity, it is revolutionary on a conscious level in more ways than one. Please continue to examine the objective side of the mandala worldview on the following PowerPoints. I'll give an overview. PowerPoint 2, The Nature of Reverence, is about why and the degree to which reverence should be applied to this reality. The Rose Mandala informs the debates between secularism, skepticism, and the revealed or supernatural wisdom or claims of religious scriptures or sacred texts, plus other mystical claims of psychic awareness, channeling, etc. Part 3 is about how the Rose Mandala informs the ethics, metaphysics, logic, and epistemology debates of modern philosophy. The Rose Mandala is a reflection of how reality itself may just be a matter of degree. Although the Rose Mandala may seem like a common sense, ancient medicine wheel based idea, it's actually quite alien to modern Western philosophical traditions, which are generally non inductive and therefore strangely unscientific. PowerPoint 4 contains the central piece of practical wisdom of the Resolving the Debate series that the mandala elucidates, and that most of humanity has been either unconscious of or in denial about to our peril. It examines where the meaning of life becomes the same as the objective definition of life. PowerPoint 5 may have the most pragmatically urgent message. The mandala points to the profoundly insightful, relatively objective, meta-ethical values that show how the ideologies fueling both sides of the immensely destructive and time-wasting capitalism versus socialism debate are just too subjective, and what the debate resolving alternatives are. PowerPoint 6 shows the basis for a more conscious, reasonable, joyful, and loving human civilization within our larger environment. Have you been wondering why it's called the Rose Mandala? Well, please visit the resolvingthedebate.org store and learn how it was named. Take the wild ride and discover more about all the parts of the Rose Mandala in The Legend of Tlili, the Mitochondrial Eve, in the Part 1 novel, The Skyclad Sages of the Life Tree Trilogy. If you want to be more reverently active with the gift of this existence, one way is to connect to the sustainablegrace.org organization and vote on the great issues that are affecting our civilization. Sustainable Grace is a social action organization, and you don't need to agree with any idea on this PowerPoint or blog or any particular ideology to join it. But as people vote and it comes online, you will find like-minded individuals to yourself. To conclude, seriously, if we endeavor to become truly reverent, can't we bring what we feel ought to give us meaning, together with what we are discovering reality is, and work it out?